Welcome to the Cambridge Tech Podcast, talking all things technology from the heart of the UK's tech capital. Here are your hosts, Faye Holland and James Parton.
Hi, I'm James.
And I'm Faye. So James, you're back.
I am back from gallivanting around at this music festival, yes, so I'm glad to be back. And thank you for doing the news solo last week, appreciate that. Yeah, how have you been?
Good. Same as always, eye-wateringly busy. Another week goes by. I had, like you said, a lovely afternoon recording the podcast with you and Carl. So that was nice last week. I had a chamber board meeting. We were conjuring up plans, actually. We've got Jason Mashinsky, who I said a couple of weeks ago has now joined the board. And he had this epic idea of supporting our tech startups. So I'm hoping we can put some meat on the bones of that one. I only went gallivanting twice last week. One of them was to the Business Weekly Killer 50 event. And we've talked about Killer 50 both in that episode and generally. So they're all the leading tech companies in our region and many of the ones to watch. So that was a really great event. So thanks to Tony and Jamie for the invite. And whilst I was there, I was very good and managed to book in 3 more interviews for us from those Killer 50. So could I have like a small round of applause or a cheer or something?
Woohoo!
Oh, that was so lovely. Thanks so much. What else? So my second gallivanting was I actually met Paul Bristow. He's the new mayor of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, and that I had a really good conversation with him. So I'm quite excited. He's very straight talking, really wants some progress, you know. So I think he's got some good plans for the region. So let's see what happens there. Maybe we should see if we can get Paul on at some point in time.
Yeah, it sounds like we should get Paul on. Yeah, I had a pretty good week as well. I went out to our Aberdeen location on my continuing world tour of Mantle locations, and HackEd is now in the public domain. So yeah, that press release went out about a week ago now, wasn't it? So that's super exciting, and tickets to watch the final pitches should be available next week, so keep an eye out for those. And we'll be delving much deeper into tech futures, Form the Future, Tech Educators and HackEd in a couple of weeks' time, so stay tuned for that. We hosted the Muller Institute and the CEIBS Global CEO Programme, and we also hosted a visit and ran a roundtable with local MP Charlotte Kane, which was great. And I'm also back in Brighton for more gigs and comedy over the bank holiday. So yeah, that was nearly a Faye level kind of week of activity there. Yeah,
it's good. And I'm glad the cat is out of the bag finally with HackEd. So that sounds really interesting. And again, you're going to talk to Anne and James and run a future episode on that. So that will be really good. And actually, timing's really important because it's June nearly, and they need to get the schools and the boot camps and everyone involved. And if they don't do it before the end of term, then obviously it's a little bit more of a challenge in September. So if you are interested, do go and check that one out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, don't wait for the episode. Go to Tech Educators and request more information about HackEd. It'll be amazing.
Yeah. Okay, great. Other things in the news. So Sparkcell were back in the news again, having won a €1.9 million European Innovation Council grant as it's raising cash to target this $48 billion market. And again, we've talked about Sparkcell before. Since spinning out of the University of Cambridge in 2023, Sparkcell has gained rapid commercial validation through over 25 fully funded pilot projects. That's amazing. And these projects are with global brands across diverse industrial sectors. Sparkcell's proprietary technology transforms cellulose from readily available materials, including wood pulp and agricultural waste, into vibrant colour solutions that are said to exceed the performance of synthetic dyes in colour intensity and durability, while being completely non-toxic and biodegradable. Dr. Benjamin Droguet, founder and CEO of Sparkcell, said in the release. This European Innovation Council funding is transformative for Sparkcell, allowing us to accelerate our manufacturing scale-up and overcome key technical challenges much earlier in our development pathway. With our plant-based technology, we're offering industries a fundamentally different approach to colour that works with nature rather than against it, while meeting the highest performance standards. So really exciting stuff, and definitely we've got to get Benjamin on the poddy too.
Yeah, absolutely. Innovation from Zampler has the potential to unlock a new generation of functional products such as vitamin-enriched drinks, plant-based supplements, and shelf-stable probiotic foods without compromising taste, texture, or ingredient stability. The breakthrough promises a healthier diet for millions following new peer-reviewed research published in the Royal Society of Chemistry journal Sustainable Food Technology. It shows that Zampler's novel plant protein microcapsules retain oil-based activities through simulated digestion all the way through to the intestinal phase. And you can find out more in our episode next week, which features Zampler CEO Alexandra French.
Excellent. Now, I've just noticed I've got like the really long reads today. Bear with me, people. Thanks, James. This one's really interesting, though. So tune in, and maybe we can add this one to the notes as well, because there's a lot of data here. Cambridge startups and scale-ups raised $2.3 billion in 2024, the second best year on record, and almost double the previous year, 2023's $1.2 billion. The figures highlight that science-led innovation in the city is not slowing down anytime soon, according to new analysis by Deal Room for founders at the University of Cambridge. Leading cities have seen funding fall, such as Stockholm, who was down 57% to 2 billion, London, who were down 12% to 11.3 billion, and Berlin, who were down 7.25%, while overall funding in deep tech hubs, including Cambridge, is on the up, along with Oxford, who was up 1%, Zurich 5.1% up, and Munich up 21%. So that's interesting in itself. That is there a shift from Berlin to Munich? Who knows? This has driven the value of the Cambridge tech ecosystem to $222 billion, up 16% compared to last year, making it the second most valuable tech ecosystem in the country. 41% of Cambridge tech companies reach Series A, compared to 40% of startups from the Bay Area and 35% and 33% respectively for Oxford and London. So they're pretty impressive numbers and results for Cambridge there.
Yeah, there's a dense amount of data there. So like you say, we will put that into the show notes as well. You did a good job there. Well done.
You just used dense and me in the same sentence. I hope there was no subliminal meaning there. Dense amount of data. Yeah, okay, right. I get that.
No. That was a compliment on your reading skills. On the theme of fundraising, Cambridge-based Carbon 13 have invested $1.2 million into 8 climate tech startups. These 8 companies are funded through Carbon 13's first SEIS fund with Syndicate Room, which we talked about on previous news sections. The startups in the latest cohort are developing solutions across the built environment, law, automotive circularity, methane monitoring, biopolymers, renewable energy, AI and biotech. The latest funding brings the total amount Carbon 13 has invested to nearly £8.5 million, and you can listen back to our interview with Carbon 13 CEO Nikki D in episode 109.
Perfect. And the last piece of news today is from Cambridge mobile commerce company Bango, who have secured a new licensing agreement with Optimum, a leading US telecommunications provider. Through the collaboration, Optimum customers can gain access to compelling subscription bundles powered by Bango's digital vending machine. Check out again episode 105, our live panel recording from last year's Cambridge Tech Week, featuring Bango Executive Chair Ray Anderson.
Excellent. Okay, well, that's this week's news. So let's now move on to today's episode, where we talk to Sarah Turner, founder of Angel Academe.
So, hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. And I have a blast from the past from you. We first met with Emma Sinclair at Unleash in 2019 when I was interviewing you on a panel, and I sent you a photo of it. How did you feel about that?
It was truly a blast from the past, wasn't it? And I was pulling my usual kind of very serious expression from when I'm obviously thinking about an answer.
Or my response was, maybe I just asked you a stupid question and you were looking at me like, what on earth is that woman talking about? Which could be quite real.
I doubt that was it.
Anyway, welcome to Cambridge Tech Podcast. It's great to have you with us today. You have been the subject of various conversations in the past, certainly when we've been talking about female entrepreneurs, and Simon Thorpe, who I'm sure we'll be talking about soon, has mentioned you lots of times. But let's start with Angel Academe. You founded it in 2014. And how did that all come about? And why did you choose to support female tech startups?
So I'd been working in tech for most of my career, and a lot of it was spent working with startups, supporting them, helping them. I met various investors and angel investors during that time, but assumed that I wasn't rich enough to be one of them. But then kind of out of the blue, I got the opportunity to invest in a friend's business. And it was like the scales were removed from my eyes. I realized that actually you could start with 10 or 15,000. And if a few of you clubbed together, actually collectively, then it was a decent startup investment ticket. From there, I joined various angel networks. I wanted to learn more about how it all worked, but I found these extremely male dominated, and that was both on the investor side and on the entrepreneur side. And this was after having worked in tech for all my career as well, but it really was quite confronting. And it kind of over time, started to feel like an opportunity to do something for women, mobilize more of them as angel investors, because I knew plenty of other women who were lucky, like me, to have had some success in our careers and had a little bit of money that they'd be able to invest, but also an opportunity to do something for female founders. I was meeting more and more of them, but, they certainly weren't kind of making their presence felt in most of the usual forums around startup investment and all the events that were going on at the time. You know the story.
Fantastic. So 2014, I think you said it was established. So it's been going a very long time. So congratulations. You must have a recipe for success. So how has the network evolved over that time? And maybe you could share some of the kind of pivotal moments in its growth.
Yeah, I think no kind of easy recipe for success. It's just grinding away a lot of hard work, like every startup journey, really. But there have been lots of pivotal moments, and we try to celebrate them as we go along. So when we made our first investment as a group back in 2014, that was a wonderful moment because it takes a lot of work to get to that point. We've won awards. We've been featured in the media through the years, which is always very gratifying. When we hit the first £1 million deployed through the group in investment, then 2, then 3 million, etc. When our portfolio reached 20, 30, now it's 54. So we have to stop and remember how much we've done over the years. But I suppose now is our biggest step change, if you see what I mean. It feels like it's been an evolution up until now, but launching our EIS fund, that's really kind of expanding the remit of what we do, and we're very excited about it.
Yeah, we definitely will come and talk about that. How many angels are in the network today?
So we have over 1,000 investors registered with us, but at the core of that is an active angel community of around about 100 individuals, 70% of whom are women, which is our big differentiator in the market. A lot of them have been entrepreneurs themselves. A lot have been investing for a long time. And some of them are brand new. Some of them haven't come from a tech background. So it's a really very diverse group in terms of experience and background. But, we value everyone. Everyone can bring something to this environment.
So you talked about the funding that you've raised. There's also, I read that you've facilitated over £200 million worth of funding for 50 startups. First of all, is that correct?
Yes. So that is what we've helped to leverage for our investment portfolio. So we deploy money directly ourselves from our own angel investors. But as we've gone along, we've got more experience, we've done more, we've become better known in the marketplace. And other investors ask to see your deal flow, and they might share their deal flow and then potentially invest alongside or join in follow-on rounds. So you mentioned Simon Thorpe in your introduction. He's very active in Cambridge Angels, as are a couple of other of our members. We've got quite a few shared members between the two groups. So they've been regular co-investors with us. But I suppose one of our proudest examples is a follow-on round into one of our startups led by Balderton Capital, who are, I think, the largest VC in Europe, and the participation with the Chat GPT founder as well in that same round. So that felt like a big milestone.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you whether you got some examples like that you could share with us, where it was putting the right founders together with a startup. Are there any kind of case studies that you can share with us?
So we've included 4 case studies in the documents about our EIS fund. So one of them is Uncommon, which is the company that had their follow-on round led by Balderton. They're Series A. So it's a 30 million Series A follow-on round. So we are very proud to have participated in their previous 2 rounds. And the angels who did take part would have had the opportunity to join the Series A if they wanted to as well. We have also invested several times in a business called Bayer Fertility. They have a device which competes or sits alongside IVF. It's an at-home fertility kit that's cheaper. It's as safe and as effective as IVF, doesn't require horrible hormones. It's a fraction of the cost and has had regulatory approval. So they've been able to prove the efficacy of their treatment system. So that's broadening access to fertility care for lots of people. So that's one we're proud of. They've also had investment from Octopus Ventures and Jamjar Investment. So we're really seeing some of the biggest names in venture capital taking part in some of the follow-on rounds in our businesses. So that's a very proud moment.
That's great.
So over the 11 years that Angel Academe has been active, have you seen change in the investor industry, the kind of investor community? Has diversity improved over that time?
Yes and no. The whole community has grown. So while there are more women participating, absolutely, as investors, they're still a minority. A lot of the new, more diverse angel investors are investing smaller ticket sizes. And unfortunately, to move the dial for female founders, you need big ticket sizes. You need more money. So things are getting better. The word is out. People are paying attention to the issue of diversity, all of which is positive. But we're yet to see a greater proportion of funding actually going to female founders. Bowhurst is the report that we constantly quote. I think for the first half of 2024, it was 1.8% of all funding raised that went to all female founding teams. A slightly higher proportion, I think about 12%, to mixed gender teams. But if you look carefully, the CEO is usually a man, and 86% of all equity investment raised still goes to all male teams. So something not quite right, something definitely broken when we're still seeing statistics like that.
So as well as raising the funds and making those direct investments into female-led companies, it sounds like a big part of the mission of Angel Academe is also the educational side of things to really address the lack of representation.
Yeah, absolutely. Hence the name. I've always believed that angel investors are made, not born. Nobody is pre-qualified to be an angel investor. It just takes a little bit of money, a little bit of time, and a good network of people. And then it's learning from other people's experience, developing your own skills over a period of time. So we spend a lot of time on the sort of the education and mentoring side of angel investing in order to build and keep growing our community.
You know, if a potential investor is listening to this and has felt intimidated or felt like it wasn't for them, are there like materials, or is there a path in for them to start learning and to start getting involved?
Yeah, I mean, yes, there's kind of like endless stuff you can read about on the internet, but we encourage people to get in touch with Angel Academy and join our events and meet a tribe of other people who've been on the same journey and build your confidence by participating. And there's no pressure to invest unless you're ready to invest. So if you've always dreamt of being an angel investor, please go to our website, send us a message, and we will let you know how to get involved.
That's perfect, and I'm sure you will get some people coming to you on the back of that suggestion as well.
I hope so.
Absolutely. So just going back to your first investment, my first investment, I'm not entirely sure has been a very sound choice. So I probably should have come via Angel Academy for sure. So one of them might be very close to home. Who knows? We talked earlier on in the conversation about your big news from earlier this month, which was the announcement of the UK's first EIS fund focused on female founders. So this is your opportunity now to tell us some more about it.
Okay, so our EIS fund, yes, as you said, it's the first EIS fund to focus on female founders. It's all about expanding the opportunity to people who don't have the times or the funds to invest on a deal-by-deal basis as angel investors. We don't want to stop people doing angel investing, and that's absolutely what the network's going to continue to do. But there's also an opportunity to support female founders by investing in our fund. And for a single ticket of £10,000, you'll be able to deploy your funds across a portfolio of female founders, so 7 to 10 businesses we're aiming to invest in this financial year. And the EIS piece is very important because EIS is designed specifically for individual investors and comes with some fantastic tax reliefs. So I would suggest people read all the details of the tax reliefs because it's quite complicated to go into on a session like this. But if you look at our investment memorandum, which is on the Syndicate Room website, because this has been done in partnership with them, and I believe you guys know Syndicate Room, another Cambridge-based network and outfit. So download the IM from the Syndicate Room website. It will explain in detail about all the tax breaks that are available. And they're really quite a powerful thing. And a lot of the people in this country don't even know that they exist, which feels like a shame.
I mean, that's a huge milestone. So congratulations. How much work, how much time has gone into, behind the scenes and bringing this together?
Oh, it takes a long time. Raising a fund is an FCA regulated activity. So we had to work with a partner. I've always wanted to do it with Syndicate Room, but they were running their own funds when I first started speaking to Tom at Syndicate Room about it. And they are now in a position to work with partners. So we are the second fund out of the traps for them in partnership with another organization. It's a proud moment, but yeah, a lot of work. I mean, we had to establish our credibility as an investment organization first. You have to build your network of people who are going to invest in the fund, build your profile, demonstrate some success and that you know what you're doing. So now is a great time to do it. And I really feel like now is the time to really get behind female founders as well. We're starting to see some that have been well capitalized, and we can see when that happens how powerful it is to their business and how well their businesses are doing. So now feels like a really good time to get behind more of them.
Yeah, I mean, you started to kind of move on to my next question that was forming in my head. It was like, how do you go about marketing something like this? You've also got a pre-established network, I assume, then that already kind of committed to get involved in the EIS fund. But how do you kind of break through and reach the widest possible audience for this kind of investment?
Yeah, well, that's the big challenge for anyone raising a fund, not just us. We do come at it with some advantages in that we've got an existing network, we've got a bit of profile, we've got that track record, and we've also got a partner like Syndicate Room who are experienced at running funds and they have their own network as well. But it's absolutely about getting the word out far and wide. So I'm really grateful for opportunities like this one today, but we need to continue to make sure as many people hear about this as possible. We're speaking to IFAs and independent financial advisors as well, because that's how lots of people get their financial advice and hear about EIS funds. So we're trying to cover all the bases, obviously.
What's the fund looking to raise?
EIS funds you tend to raise every 12 to 18 months, and we're targeting 1.2 million for our first one. So hopefully an achievable number for the first fund, and then that will give us the capacity to put in about 150,000 into each startup that we invest in alongside the angels, and we're aiming to back 7 to 10 with this first fund.
And are you actually trying to attract those new startups as well? Because as they're raising the fund, there's also finding the companies to fund. What's that balance and mix?
That is a constant process at Angel Academe. You're absolutely right. We're a two-sided marketplace. We've got the investors on one side, but we've got the founders on the other. So we are running a constant process of attracting deal flow, evaluating that deal flow, and deciding whether or not we put it in front of the angel group, who then does due diligence and then decides whether or not to invest on an individual basis. So that is going to continue. The fund is an opportunity for us to invest in a mixture of new founders, but also some of our existing portfolio who might be doing follow-on rounds as well. So very exciting balance of new and existing investments.
Okay, so that's really interesting. And the companies that the fund will invest in, are they pre-known to you? Have you already selected those, or is there still time for founders to approach you to get involved?
There's absolutely time for founders to approach us and getting involved. While we're going to be deploying some of the fund in follow-on rounds, we're interested in investing in new opportunities as well. We're going to start deploying the fund in Q4. So there's plenty of opportunity for founders to apply to us via our website, please, and get in the pipeline for investment, both from our individual angels, but also potentially from the fund once we deploy.
And Sarah, while we're on the founders, is there anything that you specifically want or don't want to see from them? What pieces of advice would you give to female entrepreneurs looking for investment?
Start by going to our webpage. So on the website, we've got a section that's specifically for founders. We try to be as transparent as possible about our investment criteria and our process. So we're typically investing in tech or science-based businesses. We want to see some technology in the business, some moat that makes it a little bit easier to defend. So, we're, as a network, passionate about women breaking barriers and achieving success in areas of technology and science where they've traditionally been underrepresented. So I think that's part of the Angel Academe mission, is around women in tech.
Perfect. So I think if any listeners are out there and they're interested in angel investing, or they've got a few pounds spare and would like to be part of the fund, or they're an entrepreneur looking for funding, then the go-to is to head over to your website.
Absolutely.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Today's show was produced by Carl Homer of Cambridge TV and supported by our media partner, Business Weekly. The Cambridge Tech Podcast is available on all major podcast platforms and on cambridgetechpodcast.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please give it a 5-star review. It'll really help others discover the show.